Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. This weekend I received my first bundle of issues for Warhammer 40,000 Conquest, so today we are going to take a quick look at Issue 2, which introduces the Death Guard, my favourite bad boys. But before we rip into this and take a look, there's a couple of things I want to go over. First of all, I wanted to point out that one of my eagle-eyed viewers noticed that in my previous video, when I was looking at issue 1, I valued all of the paint pots at $2.55, but one of the paint pots was Retributor Armour, which actually retails for $3.50. So the value of issue 1 was actually a little bit better than I first calculated. The total value at retail for the plastic sprue of miniatures and the 3 pots of paint was actually £18.60. So after you take off the cost of the magazine, that's a saving of £16.61. So that's a minor change to my calculation. The second thing I wanted to briefly mention before we open this shrink wrap is, as a subscriber, with my first 2 issues, I received my introductory free gift hobby starter set, which comprises 1 pot of Citadel plastic glue, 1 pair of Citadel branded snips, and 1 very small mold line remover. Now, you may notice that these tools are not Games Workshop's finest tools. The plastic glue is fine. The plastic glue is the stuff that you always get. It retails for about £4.30 a bottle, so that's actually a pretty decent free gift in itself, really. But these other 2 items, they are not the finest tools that Games Workshop produce. These are actually their starter products that you can get if you buy one of their start painting sets. There's an Age of Sigmar start painting set which has about 13 pots of paint, a brush, and in fact the starter brush that they gave away with the first issue of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest, funnily enough. But then you also get a pair of these snips and you get this mold line remover. Now, Games Workshop do a nicer mold line remover with a handle, and yeah, it's a little bit nicer than this. This is, I mean, this is fine. It's going to get the job done, no problem with that. But it is their sort of starter set mold line remover. The same goes for these snips. I mean, these snips are absolutely fine. I've said before in previous videos that you can go down to any hardware store, like a pound store or anything, and just buy any old snips. Really, they will all do the job. They're going to cut the plastic miniatures from the sprues, and look, they work. However, these are not these rather beautiful, over-engineered and very, very expensive snips. So this hobby starter set, it's a decent set of tools. It's going to get you going. I don't have a problem with any of them, but it's probably worth noting that it is not the high-end products that Games Workshop sells. It is their starter range of products. And in fact, if you bought the Age of Sigmar start painting set, the painting and tools set, these are the snips you would get. That's the mold line remover you would get. The brush from last issue is the brush you would get, and I should imagine a bunch of the paints that they're giving away with the first few magazines will be those paints. Yeah, but that's good enough. It's it's quite nice that if you have subscribed, you're going to get all of those basic tools: the brush, the glue, the snips, the mold line remover. That's everything you need to get going, really. Speaking of getting going, let's do that. This is issue 2. Issue 2 retails at $4.99, not $1.99. So it's the halfway house issue. Issue 1 was $1.99, issue 2 is $4.99, and then we go into the full-priced issues from issue 3 onwards at $7.99. I actually got this issue free because I subscribed to the test subscription period way back when. So as a thank you for having done that, I got issue 1s, 2 and 3 for free. But that is all scrunchy, scrunchy, scrunchy. Now, although the price has crept up and the value of the stuff in the issue has crept down, this is to be expected. You're not going to get £18.60's worth of product with every single magazine. They obviously have to bring the margins closer together. They've suckered you in with issue 1. Have to say, really, really nice packaging. Quite impressed with this. I mean, everything's got its individual molded compartments, so you can see exactly what you're getting. That paint's not going to spill because it's held in its upright position with a thing over the top. There's no way that's coming undone. Not that it would anyway, because of the way they manufacture the lids, but you know, it's not going to get crushed and squirt out and all that sort of stuff. It's nice packaging. And what do you get? You get plastic frame of the Death Guard Marines. That's 3 miniatures, and they are the same miniatures from First Strike. The First Strike Warhammer 40,000 starter set, and also the same sprue of miniatures that you can buy individually from Games Workshop for £10. So yeah, it's a £10 sprue. Although, as always, I say, you know, if you shop online, you can usually get 15-20% off, and if you buy First Strike for 25 quid, you get 4 sprues of miniatures for considerably less than obviously £10 each. These are pretty nice miniatures. If you've watched my First Strike video, you will have seen these guys assembled. They're quite nice. You get a leader dude, you get a dude with a plague spitter thingy. I think it's plague spitter, plague spewer, grot thrower. You know, it's one of those names. And then you just get a regular dude with a bolter. As regular as Nurgle's children can be. Very easy to go together. They are the push-fit miniatures. You snip them out the sprue. You do not need the glue to put them together. But if you're going to paint them up, you might as well put a little blob of glue on the connector points. I do. But yeah, they just push together. They're numbered on the sprue, so you know, you cut out item 1, item 2, item 3, stick them all together. Nice and simple. And big chunky miniatures, paint up nicely, relatively easily. All good. These dice are the same kind of dice that came in the First Strike starter set. It almost feels a little bit like Hachette purchased a whole bunch of First Strike starter sets and the paint and tool sets and just broke them all up and repackaged them. These dice really aren't worth anything. I mean, they're dice. They do what they do. They do that. Hey, look at that, double 3s. You know, they're cheap, functional dice. And here we have Death Guard Green. Obviously, if you're going to be painting up Nurgle's children, you want some Death Guard Green. Death Guard Green retails for £2.55 a pot. He says confidently, having got the pricing wrong on the paints last issue. But no, it's £2.55 for a pot of Death Guard Green. So that's almost all of the stuff. So you get a £10 sprue, a £2.55 pot of paint, some dice that aren't really worth anything. I mean, pennies. Everybody's got dice anyway, but you know, obviously you need dice to start playing. So it's a nice addition, but I'm not personally sort of putting any value on that really, because they're not nice dice. They're not custom dice or anything. You wouldn't go into a store and go, check out those beautiful little white dice. I must have a set of those. So I'm not putting any value on that. And base is obviously part of the miniature. So at the moment we're at £12.55 for value of stuff. But I did notice when I removed the magazine from the packaging, there was something else. Paper mat. And it is worth noting it's actually not a paper mat. It's cardboard. It's very, very thin cardboard, but it's you know, it's it's more robust than just a paper mat. It's actually quite nice. That's nicer than the ones that Games Workshop put in their starter sets. I'm not a fan of paper mats. Well, I am and I am and I ain't, because I think they're a good thing for people who are new to the hobby, because you've got something you can chuck down on the table and start playing straight away. So I think having a paper mat in a starter set is a great thing. But personally, I mean, I've got alternatives and I've got so much other terrain and stuff, and I don't really like paper mats. But this is kind of like a nice sort of semi-thick card. It is double-sided. It has an incredibly plain reverse side with the Aquila, and then on this side they've got some crates actually painted on, so that's quite fun, because that means you can put your miniatures on it and say, look, they're on elevated terrain, even though they're not. When this issue was advertised, one of the things it showed was measuring sticks, and I thought they were going to be those plastic whippy measuring sticks that Games Workshop puts in First Strike and No Fear and Soulstorm Wars and all those other starter sets, but it's not. They've actually printed measuring sticks on the side of the cardboard doohickey, and you'd have to cut them out, and there's some kind of tokens here, I'm assuming objective tokens, but you have to cut them out, and that's a bit rubbish. The plastic whippy sticks that Games Workshop makes they must cost less than pennies to make in massive quantities, and I really think it would have been a nice touch to have included a couple of those whippy sticks. And this only goes up to 10 inches anyway. But yeah, so that's a bit of a disappointment that the measuring sticks have to be cut off. I mean, people are gonna, you got to get, how are you going to get a nice neat cut? You need to get yourself out your cutting board and your knife and your metal rule, and do that. But there we go. So there's a paper mat. I mean, a paper card mat and some measuring sticks. Again, negligible value that you don't really need a paper mat to play the game. And the measuring sticks, you could use a tape measure you've got around the house or something, and it's a bit of printed card at the end of the day. So I'm not really seeing that that's something that I need to account as additional value. It's nice to have. Again, we're looking at it from the perspective of someone brand new to the hobby. It's nice to have those measuring sticks and a playing mat, so you've got everything to hand conveniently, but not something that I think is going to wow anybody and go, look at the amazing value I'm getting with this magazine, I got a paper mat. Talking of the magazine, here it is, as always, printed on the finest quality toilet paper. You always get this sort of rippling with these sort of magazines, like the paper can't quite handle the load of ink that's been put on it, and yeah, it's hole punched, because at some point the binders are coming, and you can break it apart into its different sections, and this issue is all about the Death Guard. So what we've got some background on the Death Guard, some stuff about plague knives and the plague planet, and plague fleets. That's a nice picture for the kiddywinks. Who chooses to start following Nurgle? Who goes, I really wish that my stomach would burst open into an angry mouth and I could have loads of tentacles coming out everywhere. That's a look that I want. But there we go. So bit on the armour of the Plague Marines. They did this last issue with the Intercessors, the armour of the Space Marines. And then we've got the How to Build Plague Marines bit, which is looking very, very familiar. It looks exactly like the page that they had for the Intercessors last issue. This is exactly the same, so they're already reproducing content on issue 2 that was in issue 1. I don't think it was necessary to repeat the clipper safety thing. Are they going to have this in every single issue? Because every single issue is going to involve clipping models. Clipper safety, everyone. And then this is basically the same set of pictures that they had in the first issue, except obviously with the Death Guard miniatures. And if you've never seen those Death Guard miniatures assembled, that's what they look like. There we are. They're very cool. I like this one. So yeah, and then you're into the actual building instructions. These are lifted from the existing building instructions for the model kits. Very, very simple. You can see you've got the numbers from the sprues are next to the relevant bit of the diagram, so you know you need to cut out item 1, item 2, push them together, then cut out item 3, 4 and 5, push them together and stick it in the base, and job done. Job's a good one. Nice and simple. And then we have how to paint Plague Marines. You are going to use your Abaddon Black from last issue, your Retributor Armour from last issue, and your Death Guard Green from this issue. There's that picture of the brush going into the water. And then a picture of a pot of paint with a brush next to it. This is, again, it's exactly the same format as last week. Some of these images are recycled. It's very clear and very straightforward, but you know, they kind of went through those steps last issue as well. If they're going to do that in every single issue, you have to hope they're not. So yeah, apply your Abaddon Black, paint your weapons and stuff, and your bits of armour. Add some Retributor armour, and don't worry if some details are not painted in a fitting colour. You will add more colours in future issues. So there you go. So bit of green, bit of black, bit of Retributor gold. Bring the plague! Look at that, ready for action. Yeah, it really shows that you don't have enough paints yet. You don't have enough paints. I mean, I suppose that's, you know, that's good to go. But yeah, I laughed about the intercessors last issue, and yeah, until you get a few more paints. I mean, that's better than no paint at all, obviously. But you know, you black guns and black knives and green heads. Ooh, your first battle. Here we go. One thing I did notice last issue, which concerned me, I didn't mention it in the video, is that there was no data sheet for the intercessors. There were no instructions on how to use them in the game. I would have expected in the magazine to have one page dedicated to the stats for the character with like the nice data sheets that Games Workshop produces for all their miniatures. But there was no such sheet. So, your first battle. Yeah. If this is your first time playing a game of this type, this guide will take you through it step by step. Turn over the page to learn the basics. Yeah, there's a bit of background stuff. Ultramarine Strike Cruiser Honor of Ultramar has been boarded by Plague Marines. What you will need: spread out the playmat. Set an objective marker to one side. You'll need this later. Place your dice and range rulers next to your mat for use when you need them. Choose who will be the Space Marine player and who will be the Death Guard player. If you can't decide, both players roll the dice, rolling again if you get the same number. Whoever rolls highest chooses. Place your models on the deployment points on the playmat as shown above. You're now ready to start. Alright, there we go. So that's the image that they used before, which showed the range rulers and made me think there was going to be some nice range rulers. Basics. There's a bit about turn sequence, moving and shooting. The game of Warhammer 40,000 puts you right in the action. You take turns moving and shooting with your models, rolling dice to decide results as you try to defeat your opponent. The information on this page will be useful as you learn to play. Refer back to it as you play through your first few games. Yeah. Sam and Max. Sam and Max are playing. Sam and Max are playing their first game. Sam goes first as a Space Marine player. Sam moves her 3 intercessors and shoots with their weapons. There we go. Next is Max's turn to do the same. Once Max has moved and shot, Sam then gets to have another turn. They repeat this process until one player has no models left. The player with models remaining is the winner. What is moving? How to move? Right, it's really breaking it down. Yeah, they're using the stuff that's printed on the board as terrain that you have to move around. What's data cards? No, data sheets. Where stats? Where are these? Advancing. So what is advancing? How to advance? Right. Okay. So yeah, it's really breaking down those. This is really nice actually, because it is doing that very. It's doing basically what First Strike did, but it's doing it in a much more thorough manner. Again, it really is holding your hand, and it's aimed at younger players again. That's quite good. And then what is shooting? How to shoot. How good your models are at shooting is shown by their ballistic skill. This is a number and a plus sign. You need to roll the number or higher to hit a target. It might seem strange, but a low number is better than a high one. For example, a BS of 3+ means a dice roll of 3, 4, 5 or 6 is a hit. Yes, but how do you know what your Space Marine's BS is? Wounding tutorial. What is wounding? How to wound? This is quite thorough. Quite impressed. But oh look, they've got little doohickeys here. Ballistic skill 3, wound 5, save 3, wounds 2, movement 6. Right. So they're not giving you the full data sheets. I hope they are going to start printing full statistics once they've got through this tutorial phase. I would hope that they would be including. I did notice that data cards are one of the things in the premium package. If they have made it that you have to buy the premium package to get the stats for the miniatures that you're getting every issue, then that is a nonsense. So I hope that is not the case. I'm hoping that later on in future issues they will start including data sheets, not just that. That's not going to cut it, because there's obviously these units have lots of special rules and stuff which they don't want to get into yet. They don't want to talk about disgustingly resilient abilities of Death Guard and things like that. That's to come later. So if they're still doing this step by step and breaking it down into its component elements, then it makes sense to just give you that, as long as somewhere down the line there will be a data sheet. I still think it would have been better just to have had in each issue is focusing on a particular unit, so you might as well have put a little data card for each unit in the back. That's what I think anyway. Replay with extra rules. Once you've played through your first battle tutorial mission a few times and are comfortable with the movement and shooting phases, read this page. Objectives in your game. Yeah. Add some objectives, but move the objectives onto one of your deployment points and hold it there to your next turn. That's okay, right. Use your models to block your opponent's moving and shooting. Yeah. Replay with extra rules. Open the arsenal. It's a blight launcher. Did I say, was that one of my options? Definitely not a grot thrower. Try adding these rules for more variation and excitement. Yeah, okay, so they've introduced the additional rules for the weapons. The blight launcher, enemy save on 5+, plasma gun to wound 2+, 1 to hit and explodes. Rapid fire, 2 shots if within 12 inches of target. So still not really giving you all of those special rules for those miniatures. But yeah, that's quite a comprehensive introduction. I'm okay with that. I'm quite impressed with that actually. It works you through the basics of moving and shooting. It then gives you a little thing with objectives to kind of replay and give you something different to do other than just shooting, which is quite interesting because that's gonna help you learn about how moving is important in the game and how you can maneuver to a better advantage. And then when you've done that, you can start introducing some extra weapon options. That's quite cool. I mean, obviously there's a long way to go before you're up and running playing with all the rules for 40k, but then that's the whole purpose of this magazine, isn't it? Next week you will be getting 3 Space Marine Reavers, with lead belcher paint and exciting new ways to play. Ooh. And then issue 4, 6 Boxwalkers, and obviously by the time you get to issue 4 you've got basically the contents of First Strike. So there we go. That's issue 2. Sorry, that was I'll talk for quite a long time. If you buy issue 1 and issue 2, your total spend will be £7.98, and you will have got a pretty complete introduction to the game. You'll have a playmat, you'll have some cardboard measuring sticks, you'll have 2 units of miniatures for opposing forces, you'll have some dice, you'll have a paintbrush, you'll have a bunch of paint, and you will have saved £24.17 based on, that's basically the total value of what you're getting in the magazine less the cost of the magazine, so less the £7.98 you spent. And if you've subscribed, you would also have got clippers, mold line remover, and glue. And that alone, those 2 issues, and that's a decent introduction to the hobby, I would say. I think that's a pretty good haul of stuff, and that's okay. But obviously, you know, your value at this point is going down. I mean, you've paid £4.99 for this issue, and you've got £12.55 of stuff, really, which is one pot of paint and the sprue of Marines, which is a saving of £7.56. And we can already see next issue, there's Reavers and there's paint. There are no dice, there is no playmat, there's no range rulers. You're down to just the miniatures and the paint. So again, you're looking at £12.55, but for this issue you're paying £7.99, which means your savings are down to £4.56. And then you have to start thinking whether, if you purchase this stuff online and got a 15-20% discount, are you really saving anything? So we're going to see how this carries on. We're going to see how this goes. I'll put up some figures in the screen somewhere to just to give a rolling total of where we are, what we've spent and what we've saved. And I hope you found this interesting. I'm sorry that I've gone on a little bit longer than I intended to. I'm probably going to get quicker with these magazines. Start dapping through them a bit more, because I think they're going to get a little bit samey and I'm going to run out of things to say. But I hope you find this interesting. As always, let me know in the comments if this is useful or interesting or not. You know, share it with anyone who you think might be interested in this magazine. You know, give me a thumbs up if you thought it was okay, because, you know, all that stuff helps, and it helps me build my channel, and it makes me feel happy. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.